Hey, I'm Cyclon, and today I want to share with you what I've been testing as a potential league starter in 3.26. Now I'm gonna start this video with a massive disclaimer. This is by no means a proper league start guide. This is by no means a locked-in league starter for me. I'm waiting for patch notes. I have no idea what 3.26 will entail. I'm assuming it's gonna be a massive patch with massive changes because they're using Off the Atlas as an expansion name, meaning that this is a core expansion by almost guaranteed likelihood. So I have no idea what's going to be coming. I just am preparing as best as possible for what I am making an estimated guess 3.26 will be about. And that is T17s, bossing, pinnacle bossing, and invitations. Core patches usually come with a new boss fight. New boss fights usually come with new boss loot, usually come with some Atlas progression changes, so being able to be in bossing content early is always a benefit. And also T17 in the previous leagues have always been meta. They absolutely outshadow or outrange T16 mapping strategies. So I want to be super prepared to be able to go into those T17s and do those bossing content as quick as possible. Now I also have intentionally ignored any current S tier build. I've ignored Hexblast, I ignored Power Siphons, I ignored Lightning Strike, I ignored Archmage, because I'm assuming that those will not survive the 3.26 patch. I'm also have decided against some other builds like Viper Strike of the Mamba, or a Berserker with Slams, or Peacock of Bouncing, because I'm thinking that this build I will enjoy and I can see myself playing for the week 1, even on a lower budget, and farming up like a mirror or two, or farming up my mage blood as fast as possible. But I can see myself doing that on the other builds. So this is why I decided on Icicle Mines of Fanning. Now this build itself is an absolute glass cannon. It has minimum survivability needed, which means cap resistances and a decent health pool. And outside of that, we are scaling, freezing, hitting enemies from as far away as possible, and killing them before they kill us. So, Icicle Mines of Fanning for T17s and for bossing looks very, very promising. The build I tested with isn't the build I'm gonna be having in my PoB, keep this in mind. The PoB is more optimized already. It's gonna have more small stuff adjusted, more neat stuff adjusted, while the in-game is literally just what I threw together. I think it was 5 or 6 months ago when I first saw 3.26 is around the corner. I need to test this build for 3.26, so just keep this in mind that the gear I'm using is slightly different from the gear I'm gonna be recommending in the PoB. And also, I'm going to say this again, the PoB gear is by no means League Starter friendly yet. I need to add 2 or 3 more iterations of it in tinier steps that are more reasonable approach at a League Start, and consider League Start budget and League Start prices. Now, let's take a detailed look at this Icicle Miner. How are we scaling damage? We're going to be starting with our boots actually. I'm assuming a March of the Legion. Now, March of the Legion boots corrupts. It already has +5 to Aura gems, which funnily enough, Icicle Mines of Fanning has the Aura tag. So this one is already benefiting from a +5 to gem level, and as it's a spell skill, it scales incredibly well with gem levels. We can further scale this level with corruption. +2 to trap and mine gem, +2 aura gems, +2 AoE gems, and +1 to all gems, as well as +2 to projectile gems, would all work for Icicle Mines of Fanning. So we have many options to gain +2 on this. So the boots are at a higher end of a League Start budget. Like, this is definitely one of the more expensive items you would get for a starter, but they're definitely very, very powerful. So I'm tested with those. And then we have a lot of flat damage. Now we need to solve the other angles. One of them is, of course, percentage damage, which you can either use Mark of the Shaper or Taming. Mark of the Shaper is slightly weaker, but also normally cheaper, at least once we have a few on the market than Tamings. Tamings have recently been super desirable for almost all builds and very expensive. And then we're using a Respite's Globe to gain even more percentage damage, and also percentage spell crit strike. Now, this will leave us with a big downside, and we're gonna sacrifice 10% of our life whenever we use or trigger a spell skill. This means at all times we're basically gonna be running around with 1 HP. To not die to literally a gust of wind, we are using Dissolution of the Flesh. Dissolution of the Flesh is allowing us to use Respite Globe basically, but it also comes with 2 additional upsides. It gives us more maximum life, meaning we have a higher life pool, meaning we have more spell damage and more spell crit chance. And it also gives us the ability to reserve an additional aura without cutting in our survivability with an arrogance support. The way this works is if you have an arrogance linked to, let's say in my case, a Herald of Ice, and I'm getting hit, and I'm now looking at having reserved all my life, but a portion of that life has been reserved with Herald of Ice. Now, if I'm getting hit again and I would have 100% reserved and die, instead it unreserves Herald of Ice, and now I can take a hit again, and I'm not dead. So I can, once Herald of Ice is unreserved, I now know, okay, I need to get out of here, I need to reposition, and I need to be safe for a moment, so that the recent part in Dissolution of the Flesh stops, so I have not taken damage for 2 seconds, and now my whole life is unreserved again. I can manually re-reserve Herald of Ice, and I'm good to go and kill again. So Dissolution of the Flesh, very powerful for us, very, very much offensive focused, not defensive focused, but it allows us to scale more damage. Now, on the rest of the gear, Scepter, we can get levels, we can get flat damage, crit multi, mind throwing speed, the usual package. I've decided against an Annihilating Light because I don't want to be unreserved on resistance. I'm already gonna be beyond squishy. I want to have at least kept resistances. I'm using my amulet and glove slot to fix my res. Now, on my body, on my helmet first, I have a heat shiver. Because we're dealing so much cold damage and we want to freeze and chill everything we are hitting, we gain a massive amount of fire damage, and by scaling percentage spell damage and percentage elemental damage, those damage apply both to the cold damage and to the fire damage per the currently known elemental damage scaling with conversion. And now the body armor is a Shroud of the Lightless. Now we have 2 options on the body spot, or 3 I guess. We could use a Victorious and we could use a different Boots in March of the Legion. Victorious would be a 6th link. We could then also gain another +2 or +4, so we can get like +5 on gems there. It's pretty good, but a Shroud of the Lightness seems better in my testing and in my PoBing. And the reason for that is Abyss Jewels already can give us flat life, flat damage, and crit multi. Now on top of that, if we use a Shroud of the Lightness, we gain percentage life and penetration. So now our Abyss Jewels give us 5 stats, or up to 4 to 5 stats we really could use, and we have 4 sockets that we can use for utility things compared to a Chaos. So we gain life, we gain percentage life, we gain crit multi, and we gain elemental pen, and maybe even some flat damage. So we can get very powerful very quickly with a Shroud of the Lightness, and the 2-socket Shroud is normally not that expensive. And also, if you're not as stupid as I am in socketing in your auras in your body armor, you could even trigger your Fade form with this when you use something like your Flame Dash or when you use your Beer Trap by socketing those in there instead. Maybe you put a Shield Charge and Flame Dash in there and we have Shade form whenever we are moving. Would be neat as well. But regardless, the build is incredibly powerful in its damage scaling capacity. Everything we do directly invests in our damage scale, with the exception, I guess, with Gloves and Amulet in my current playtest iteration. The iteration that I will recommend in the PoB will already have damage on those as well. So yeah, build is just looking at dealing as most damage as possible, and it feels pretty good with that. This was really all I wanted to say in this video. The big one for it should have been a Maven Entity 70 kill. It feels incredibly good and doesn't really have too many downsides. It just requires you to play safe, in the sense of throw the mines at the edge of screen, kill enemies off screen, freeze everything, and know a little bit about boss fights. Now, if anything was unclear in this video, if you have any questions left, the comment section is open, Discord is open. I also will be live streaming every day till launch, so you can ask any questions of any of those 3 channels. All this being said, hopefully I'll be seeing you in my next video or live on Twitch. And again, reminder that this PoB is not a league starter yet. It's just what I've been testing. That is not by any means a finalized League Starter guide or a finalized League Starter budget PoB. Goodbye.